Hello, how are you? Welcome back to this channel. It is Friday. We've made it. Happy Friday. By the time you are watching this, it's going to be late Friday night. I'll get into it in a minute. We have some things to go over. First, I just want to start with some great news that happened in Canada over the weekend. And then we'll get into, yes, it ends with never, because there is just a circus going on, which we will talk about, as well as the judge came back today and made an order. Let's talk about it, okay? And we are going to go over some of your comments from this week that I have queued up. If you are ready, I'm ready. Grab your emotional support lip gloss. Right now, I am honestly in love with these e.l.f. shimmer glosses. They are so pretty. You are in frame with Mandy Magnan. Yesterday, I was so blessed to be on set again. It was a pretty long day, like normal for set time, but it was a long day. Call time was 7:30. We wrapped at 8:30 at night, so it was a 13-hour day, but it was such a good day. It was so full of energy. The group that I was with shooting were so fun and funny, and yeah, it was just so awesome to be back on set, seeing all of the moving parts. I mean, the amount of people and equipment and time it takes to shoot something will never cease to amaze me. I mean, it really does take a village. There's a saying in film and on set also, like, hurry up to wait, because it seems like you rush to get ready and you're hurried up to do blocking, and then it's like a lot of waiting for lights and camera setup and playback and things like that. So it was a long day, but it was such a good day, and I just feel so re-energized from that day, being on set, meeting all of these fellow actors, and we laughed a lot and joked around a lot and cheered a lot, and it was really fun. And today, right after this video, instead of editing it, I have to go to an in-person audition. It's for a print ad, and usually I would get like nervous for like print ads, because it always seemed to me like kind of a cattle call. Like, I would show up and be surrounded by like all these models and stuff, and then be like, hey, it's just me. But actually, I feel super excited today to go into it. I mean, they called me in for a reason, so I'm very excited. So I get to go do that. And then I got to go to work. So you might see this video maybe around like midnight, okay? But just know that I'm here. I'm with you. I'm just kind of getting it all done. Wow, I don't know why I said this weekend Canadians were celebrating, because I didn't know what day it was when I started. You know what I mean? It's Friday. This happened yesterday, and such good news. I mean, 18 years old, a star is born. A Canadian teen wins the National Bank Open title in Montreal. Yes, we love that. Go off, Queen. It was playing yesterday, while we were on set. There was some TVs and everyone was talking about it. And oh my gosh, this is just so amazing. Congratulations. Huge, huge, huge deal. Can't wait to see what else she comes. I mean, just so young. It's amazing. Super happy. And yes, Canadians are celebrating this. You go, girl. You go. And more Canadians were celebrating yesterday as well. It was a day for Canadian athletes, okay? When Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he came back to Hamilton after winning the NBA championships, as well as being named the Finals MVP and regular season MVP. And he took the league's scoring title. Stop it. Okay, he came back and professed his love to Hamilton and to Canada, and there was a big rally, and yeah, it's just so cool to see Canadians win. Like, okay, let's go. And now it's time to get serious, okay, because we are in the court of it ends with never. No, I'm just kidding. Well, yeah, it is kind of serious, but there's a lot of stuff going on, okay? Perez Hilton had a little bit of a crash out yesterday in the court dockets. Doesn't look good. Total meltdown. Not a lot of respect or decorum for the opposing counsel or for the judge. He had a lot of things to say. The judge has come back and, is trying to snip it in the butt, as well as, I think, unbeknownst maybe to what Perez has done, and the judge is not happy, and he's came back on a ruling, and it's against the Wayfair people. And I think, yeah, I'm kind of mixed on this, because I know that there's a lot of creators not blasting, but kind of, not on Perez's side when it comes to the way he has chosen to represent himself and address the court. And I'm on that side as well, but I'm also on the side of like, Blake, what did you think? You went after Perez Hilton. Perez is always going to Perez. So what did you think was going to happen? He was just going to stop? Like, I don't know. I'm kind of torn, but also I feel like if you want to be taken seriously and you want to be respected, you need to also show respect. And if you want to be taken seriously, you have to take something seriously. And this is a serious matter. What I think has happened now is because of the mockery and the circus that has been unfolded in front of the judge and in the courts by Perez Hilton, which is unlike any of the other content creators who have stood their ground on these subpoenas, is kind of proved Blake's point. Indirectly or directly. I mean, it doesn't look good. It doesn't make content creators look good. It doesn't make any of the people receiving subpoenas look good. And it kind of proves her point that, of the smear, not only the smear campaign, but that like she's being attacked and further bullied every single day. And now it's like happening in the courts. So I'm kind of torn because it's like, and I know a lot of people in the comments, y'all are going to come at me. That's why I'm trying to mince my words already, okay? I'm trying to find them and not be like completely one-sided because I am on the fence and I already know y'all are going to be like, he can do whatever he wants, blah, 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 F the judge is corrupt. The judge is a federal judge. He's worked his whole life to be on that bench, whether you like him, don't like him, whether you agree with his motions. I don't agree with all of the things that he has called, the dismissals being first and foremost. However, there are times where you, as an individual, if you want to be taken seriously, you have a responsibility to show up in that way and address things properly and as a grown-up and as an adult. And I don't think that's how it was handled in this matter. But I'm not Perez. But I do think that being on the side of Team Justice for Justin and the Wayfair parties, this has hurt them, as well as I do believe that Justin and Jamie Heath and Steve Soritz would not want you acting this way. I just think after reading all of the text messages and after the briefings, Justin has never once, even to this day, attacked Blake, name called her, done anything. I mean, the meanest thing that they can come up with that he has said is that she's a person who always thinks that she is right. Okay, so I just think, there's time for clickbait and rage bait, and there's time to be, a joke and whatever. And then there's times to sit in your power and be respectful and address them in a way that will get your point across and not also make yourself look like a clown in a way. Okay, so with that said, let's see the letters from Perez Hilton's meltdown. They're very short. There is multiple. And then the judge's response, as well as a letter filed from Kevin Fritz, which echoes exactly what I said in my video on Wednesday, which is cray-cray. But then the judge has come back and responded to that as well. So let's do it. Roll it up. Let's go. And I already know y'all are going to come at me for not siding. I'm not siding. I'm on Team Justin and Justice. Okay. So whatever is best for them. This court, no matter what your feelings are about it, the results of this court and everything that gets filed in this court has real consequences for people's lives. If the Wayfair parties don't win this case, their lives are ruined. Okay, Wayfair is gone. Justin Baldoni is gone. They will never recover from this. So the way we do present ourselves when we are addressing the court, or if we need to address the court, should follow the same ethical and moral guidelines as if you had a lawyer and the way that they would address it. That's just the way it is. That's the way the world works. Also, you can't be outraged when, for example, the opposing counsel is saying things about you or, showing pictures. I know that they showed a group photo of Perez's kids that he has live. It's already on the internet. He did that. The outrage for you to be angry about that when in turn you're literally bullying and name calling and insulting, how do you win, right? It's that same thing of like, if you're fighting with, you know, if someone is out of control and acting a fool, and in turn you start acting a fool, no one's going to know who the foolery is. They're just going to think you're both foolish. You know what I mean? So come at me all you want, but I don't think that this was the proper way to do it. However, it's not my call, but I don't think this helps Wayfair at all. I think it makes people look cray cray. And honestly, I think this lash out and this act out from Perez, this literal like motion, like letter, like this crash out that happened, Blake wanted. It helps prove her point. It literally, like, I think she baited and got the fish. Okay. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. Let's read the letters. Y'all can probably already read them on Perez's thing because he's treating this like he is the star of the show. And, you know, it's all about him, when really this is about a case against sexual harassment and a retaliation campaign with other parties, right? So, yeah, anyway. This is the letter, okay, y'all? Sorry. I just, like, I have so many mixed emotions. Like, every time I think about it, I just, like, have so many other things to say. Because when I was reading these last night, I was like, what is going on here? Like, this is just nutty to address a federal judge like this. But anyway, this is the first of 3. Judge Leman Mario Armando Lavandria Jr., known professionally as Perez Hilton, write as a non-party in Lively vs. Wayfair Studios to request to unseal every item referenced in docket number 561. Blake Lively's sham of a lawyer, Ezra Hudson, is using this court's docket as a publicist would by filing a futile motion to compel with you, even though she is very well aware, as is this court, that last week I filed a motion to Nevada to squash the fishing expedition disguised as a subpoena served on me by the 0-time Oscar-nominated plaintiff. Las Vegas is where I live, where I work, where I was served, and where the plantation-loving actress listed in her subpoena as the place of compliance. I already notified ethically challenged Ezra of this all 5 days ago. And I also was kind enough to let this court know, as well as many days ago too. You're welcome. Ms. Hudson is engaging the very same behavior that she has accused Justin Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, of perpetrating. Perpetrating. Okay. And for which she filed a fairy letter of admonishment. She should look in the mirror. Take a long, hard look, Ezra. As for the contents of Miss Hudson's letter to you about me, filed on August 5th, I cannot adequately respond to anything she submitted unless all items are unsealed and I am given the full and redacted versions. With me personally, because as this court and Miss Lively's crappy attorneys know, I'm representing myself in subpoena gate without a lawyer pro se. This case and your docket has become a circus and is so laughable. All of the doing of Miss Lively, Miss Hudson, and the rest of her incompetent legal team. Cheerio. So you could see how maybe, you know, that's going to ruffle a few feathers. Even if you are representing yourself, I mean, this is just the docket isn't a circus and it's not laughable. I think these are real people's lives. The lawyer is getting paid $8,000 to $10,000 an hour. Don't think it's laughable. The Wayfair parties aren't thinking it's laughable, and I'm sure Ryan and Blake aren't laughing. This is very serious. This is costing millions of dollars, and yeah, it's not a circus unless you make it one, but he said what he said. This is the second letter where it says non-response to motion to compel. Hey, Judge Leman, it's me again, Mario, known professionally as Perez Hilton. I feel like we're starting to be pals with how much I'm writing to you, but I know you're still much friendlier with Blake Lively's counsel. This letter is not a response to the motion to compel just filed in your court by the disgraceful Ezra Hudson. This letter is a request for sanctions against Ms. Hudson, which your sexy and smart self has every right to impose on that clown, based on your inherent powers in this court. It pains me that I cannot respond to the motion to compel, but unless I am given the unredacted version of that and all the exhibits unredacted as well, then I am afraid this letter as a non-response will have to suffice. I only speak for myself. I have no knowledge if Mr. Baldoni or any of the other Wayfair defendants seek to move to keep sealing all the documents submitted by Ms. Lively's publicity-seeking lawyer Ezra Hudson. Additionally, while I'm not responding to the motion to compel, I want to remind everyone yet again that last week I already filed in Nevada District Court a motion to quash this burdensome, unethical subpoena that is seeking my privileged and protection information as a journalist. I am joyfully representing myself in subpoena gate without my attorney, which I have every legal right to do. And though I haven't spent more than a minute or two preparing this letter, my research shows me that Miss Hudson is misrepresenting the truth yet again. Another reason why you should sanction that disgraceful attorney and award me attorney fees. Well, you just admitted that you didn't spend more than a minute or two preparing, and I believe they spent a lot of time, a lot of resources preparing for these motions. I have never consented to the Southern District of New York having jurisdiction over the compliance of my subpoena. Right, my rudimentary findings are consistent with what I already know, what you know, and what all of the Van Zandt scammers legal team knows. That the appropriate venue to quash to compel this subpoena is Las Vegas. That is where I live, where I work, where I was served, and that is listed in Miss Lively's own subpoena as the place of compliance. I look forward to litigating this and winning in Nevada. The world is watching this case and your docket, Judge Leman. This is to inform the court that I have not been served with a copy of the communications by Subpoena Serena, also known as Blake Lively. I have received no materials whatsoever. Also, this is to put in writing that I will comply with the court's protective order regarding the use of confidential discovery material. Additionally, I have no interest in responding to the plantation-loving princess opposition to my motion for a protective order. I do not believe that this court can rule fairly. I fully expect you once again to side with Miss Lively, as I believe that you are biased. Therefore, I won't waste any more time than I already have responding to her opposition for a protective order. And finally, with regards to her cross motion to compel, the court knows it has no standing on this matter. The appropriate venue to litigate the subpoena against me is in the U.S. Federal District Court of Nevada, where, as I have informed counsel and this court last week, I filed a motion to quash. That court has already taken this up, and yesterday, deplorable Ezra informed you she would be responding there. Now, just reading those, I mean, y'all are going to have all of your own opinions, but just ask yourself, like, if this was you, right, like the other content creators did, at some point in certain rooms and in certain aspects of life, you have to stop with the games and the jokes, and you have to take something seriously, especially if you want to be taken seriously. Now, it's fine to get the clicks and the rage bait and get all the people going and all of that stuff, I guess, but not in this room. I mean, it's just, I don't know. That's just how I feel, especially after rereading them. Like, I read them last night and I was just like shaking my head, like, what is going on? What is going on? But of course, everyone's going to be like, yeah, you tell them. But like, let's just remember, like, we're in a federal court, okay? These are people's lives. This is like real things happening. But this is what Judge Leman had to say, and I fully agree. And if he does have to hold people in contempt, I fully believe he will, as he should. Recently, a number of filings in this case have included intemperate language and personal attacks against parties, their counsel, and the court. All individuals filing documents in this case, whether represented or not, are advised that they shall not in any submission to this court use language that is disrespectful of the parties, their counsel, or the court. This includes but is not limited to using demeaning nicknames for parties or their counsel, or accusing the court of being in words or in substance biased, criminal, or corrupt. In other words, parties addressing the court in writing should use the same respectful language that they would in person in open court. For avoidance of all doubt, this order does not prevent any party or non-party from vigorously arguing on behalf of their clients, or when appearing pro se on behalf of themselves, or from asserting publicly that a decision of this court or any other court was wrongly decided, or that an argument prompted by a party or non-party is incorrect. Failure to comply with this order, example, use of such language in any court submission, may subject the infringing party the risk of contempt. So there you have it. That's the judges. He's putting his foot down, like enough is enough. You have to have some composure, some decorum, and a lot of respect when you're entering into these spaces. Period. Say what you want on your social media, speak however you want, act however you want, but like insulting and attacking federal judges in their own courtroom is like bananas, and it's just like really crude, and it's, I don't know. I personally, not a fan. I've been in situations where I've had to do depositions, where I've been in court, and I wanted to go, like, it's not a mockery. Like, it's very serious stuff, and you have to hold yourself to a very high standard and act accordingly, in my opinion. Now, I know y'all are already going to come for me when it comes to that, but let's move on, okay? On Wednesday, we went over a lot of letters from the court, but specifically Blake Lively saying that her deposition, even though it's under seal, needs to be stricken, and the Wayfair parties only put that in there to use as a PR stunt and further headlines, etc., 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 as well as claimed and accused the Wayfair people of leaking information of her deposition, including her wardrobe. Yes, Wayfair cares a lot about what she was wearing, and that's what they had to tell TMZ. Well, this was their response. Ms. Lively frames her arguments as a motion to strike pursuant to federal rule and civil procedures and the court's inherent power. However, Rule 12b does not authorize this court to strike documents other than pleadings. Then they quote a bunch of stuff from Judge Leman himself, okay? Pleadings include only the complaint, answer to cross-claims and counterclaims, third-party complaint, answer to third-party complaint, and replies when ordered by the court. They do not include exhibits submitted in connection with opposition to motion. And then that's also words from Judge Leman, okay? Further, Ms. Lively does not contend that the deposition transcript contains abusive, improper, or libelous materials which might warrant the court's exercise of its inherent power. After all, the deposition transcript records Ms. Lively's own words. Ms. Lively contends that the transcript must be stricken based on her speculation that it was all filed for the purpose of the transcript into the public domain as fodder for their media campaign. The transcript, however, was filed under seal, and Ms. Lively has the option of moving to keep the document sealed, although it is puzzling why she would seek to conceal her own testimony in an action in which she is the plaintiff. Isn't that exactly what I said, y'all, on Wednesday? Like, what this is your words, your story. This is your time to shine. This is your time to tell the world what's good, right? So why you're going to have to take the stand if this thing goes to trial anyway. So, like, let the world know what's up. Face the haters, all the naysayers, all the content creators who were against you, everyone calling you a liar. Now this is your time, but now that it's her time, she doesn't want anyone to see it. It doesn't make sense. The deposition transcript was filed in connection with Liner, Freeman, Tillman, plus Cooley LLP's motion to quash Ms. Lively's subpoena seeking Brian Freeman's purported statements to content creators and the media. Liner Freeman moved to squash the subpoena, which motion has since been largely granted. The parties fully briefed the issues, and on July 30th, 2025, the court heard oral arguments. No additional argument or supplemental briefing was requested by the court. Nonetheless, Ms. Lively filed a letter with the court which purported to address certain questions with the court, but which was truly an improper submission of further argument on the motion to quash. The Wayfair parties responded, citing Ms. Lively's deposition transcript, which was attached as exhibit to demonstrate for the court that Ms. Lively's allegations of an ongoing smear campaign are unsubstantiated. By improperly submitting additional argument on the motion to quash, Ms. Lively invited a response that would include evidence to establish the true reason why Ms. Lively served the subpoena upon Liner Freeman. It is routine for the court to consider deposition testimony in connection with discovery disputes. And they quote again Judge Leman. Contrary to Ms. Lively's contention, the Wayfair parties did not hope to make her defend the continued sealing of the transcript so that they can advance the false narrative that she is afraid of her deposition testimony becoming public. Ms. Lively will either move to permanently seal her transcript or she will not. The choice is hers. Ms. Lively next alleges that it also appears that the Wayfair defendants immediately leaked details from the deposition to the tabloid media. She does not cite any evidence. This is not surprising as there is none. Ms. Lively also fails to explain why any such leak could not have originated from Ms. Lively, her husband, her multiple attorneys, legal or admin staff from the law firm representing her, whose office she demanded host the deposition, or the catering staff employed who served lunch. Putting aside the identity of the culprit, the identities of those in attendance for her deposition are not newsworthy because all parties are entitled to attend all depositions. For the reasons set forth above, the motion should be denied. But was the motion denied? I'll let you guess. 1, 2, let's look at it. And it is to be, oh, my butt is sticking to my chair. Sorry, I'm in shorts, okay. Wow. It is to be noted that this was ordered after his letter about the bullying and misuse of language and stuff in the court. So take it as you will, but this is Judge Leman's letter. So he writes, responding to arguments made by counsel for Blake Lively regarding Liner Friedman's pending motion to quash the subpoena, the letter broadly asserts that there is no evidence the Wayfair parties, Brian Friedman or his firm, have participated in a smear campaign against Lively. For support, the letter quotes one fragment of one sentence from Lively's deposition. In the deposition, Lively testifies that she believes that the Wayfair parties have retaliated against her for reporting harassment by engaging in an ongoing smear campaign, but she refuses, and he writes appropriately, but she appropriately refuses to reveal information disclosed to her in confidence by her counsel. The letter also includes, as an attachment, the entire uncertified 292-page transcript of Lively's deposition. Lively now moves under Federal Rule of Civil Procedure and the court's inherent power to strike the attachment on the grounds that there is no conceivable legal purpose to file the whole transcript. Specifically, given the court's individual practices regarding sealed material, the Wayfair party's decision has put Lively in the position of defending the continued sealing of the transcript. Lively contends that the Wayfair parties have done so in order to advance a false narrative that Miss Lively is afraid of her deposition testimony becoming public, which is entirely untrue. The court agrees that inclusion of the entire deposition transcript served no proper purpose and accordingly grants the motion to strike. Courts have inherent power to manage their own affairs as to achieve the orderly and expeditious deposition of cases. This includes the power to strike materials outside the pleadings that are abusive or otherwise improper. Courts must therefore protect the judicial process from being co-opted and ensure that their dockets are not used to gratify private spite or promote public scandal. Interesting, because we still have no answers for Van Zandt or any answers as to why 107 content creators were subpoenaed. Okay. The Wayfair party's attachment of the entire nearly 300-page deposition, after citing only 2 pages of it in this letter, served no proper litigation purpose and instead appears to have been intended to burden Miss Lively and, as a result, the court, and to invite public speculation and scandal. Even if the cited deposition portions were relevant or provided support for the Wayfair party's argument, both of which are far from clear, the Wayfair parties have not even attempted to argue that the entire deposition was relevant, nor could they. The conclusion is inescapable that the Wayfair parties filed gratuitous amounts of irrelevant pages so that, if Lively moved to continue sealing of the irrelevant pages, the Wayfair parties could then use Lively's response for their own public relations purposes. Oh my gosh. The court has not only the power, but also the responsibility to step in. Then in the footnote, it says, the Wayfair party's actions follows a pattern of using filings on the docket as an opportunity to litigate this case in the press rather than the court. Unbelievable, honestly, because like y'all, I've showed you all of the stuff that Lively files. A lot of it is baloney, bananas, crazy, absurd. And now it's the Wayfair people. Okay. I can see how they are a little bit bitter by him attaching the entire deposition. But again, it was under seal. No one could see it, right? So it's like, anyway, I don't think it was like as big as what Blake needed to make it out to be. They do not dispute, however, that the court has the inherent authority to strike documents other than pleadings when filed for improper purposes. Indeed, the court has already done so in this very case. Next, they contend that Lively has not asserted that the deposition transcript contains abusive, improper, or libelous materials. The test is whether the Wayfair party's filing itself was abusive or improper. And given that there could be no proper reason for the Wayfair parties to have filed an entire transcript and only a few lines were even arguably relevant, only has demonstrated that the Wayfair parties have abused this court's docket. Finally, the Wayfair parties explain that it is routine for the court to consider deposition testimony in connection with discovery disputes. It is not routine, however, for parties to attach an entire confidential deposition transcript when citing only limited portions of that transcript involving only a few lines of text in order to put the other side and the court to the burden of justifying continued sealing. What? Yeah, gosh, here we go. Lively's motion to strike the attachment at docket number 5381 is granted, and there is no cause to seal the limited portion of the transcript cited by the Wayfair parties in the letter. Lively is directed to publicly file only 201:14 to 202:23. Furthermore, because the only portion of the letter that is currently redacted is the portion of the transcript that the court now orders unsealed, the court also unseals the letter. Okay, so let's see exactly what Blake is all thinking is a smear campaign. This right here in the highlighted part. Upon questioning by Friedman at her recent deposition, Lively admitted that the only ongoing smear campaign about which she has personal knowledge involves a retaliatory lawsuit and the press that you, Friedman, have done and the statements that you have made about me and my character. Oh my gosh. Girl, it was better if you just left this sealed. It was better if you just didn't say anything. I bet they didn't think that Blake Lively, I bet they didn't think that the judge was going to unseal these little 2 sentences. I bet they thought they were just going to strike this whole document from the record, strike the deposition, and, silence Brian Friedman. But this makes it even worse because if you think the retaliatory campaign, this smear campaign, this untraceable smear campaign, the only knowledge you have of it is the lawsuits that were filed, as well as the statements Brian Friedman made in the press. What are we here for? Because you filed first. They have every right to defend themselves, and they have every right to countersuit. What? This is what her knowledge of it involves. A retaliatory lawsuit and the press that you and Freeman have not done. A retaliatory lawsuit and the press that you, Brian Freeman, have done and the statements that you have made about me and my character. So, why'd you go after all those women content creators? What? Who only started talking about you at the end of January after the counter lawsuits were filed. Wow. And she's also subpoenaing other people too. It's not done. She is also really trying and pushing Judge Leman to subpoena what are they called? The Skyline Agency and Rosa Calatari, who are in charge of creating the lawsuitinfo.com, the website that had the relevant timeline, the dance montage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They put all of that out on the website. Yeah, they're trying to also get all of their information. They've been doing meet and confers. They've been trying to do all of this stuff. Blake Lively is saying that they're withholding information. Skyline Agency is saying that the information that they're withholding is work product doctrine as well as with their lawyer. So there is like an attorney privilege. And Blake is like, no, they're withholding information that has nothing to do with that. We'll see. But babes, all they did was create a website. They probably got paid. They were given the material. They created it. They let it out. I mean, what now? They're involved in the friggin' smear campaign too? Blake is claiming that what's being withheld are a series of Signal messages, this secret app that sends secret messages. And she says that the Wayfair people and everyone that was part of the smear campaign used Signal, that they are withholding lawyers for the defendants, PR staff, so messages from TAG, several third parties, messages from Rosa Calatari, who is the one being subpoenaed, and also the discussions. I guess there was the topic discussions building of website. So she knows that there was like messages within that topic and she wants all of those messages. Skyline is claiming attorney-client privilege, work product protection, and common interest privilege for all of these messages. I mean, they were hired to build a website. Like, they're not part of a smear campaign. Like, I'm just so confused right now. Like, Blake is literally grasping, trying to figure out one person that was part of this huge orchestrated, huge smear campaign, but yet still can't find one person that was part of it. What Blake is asking is for the motion, because they're fighting this right now in Texas, because that's where they work, that she's asking it to be transferred to the Southern District of New York so that Judge Leman can rule on it. No comment. Okay, now it's time to go over a bunch of your comments from the week. First, I just want to say thank you everyone that's been sending like supportive messages and are in this more than just like the tea from Blake Lively and It Ends With Us, but is like riding this ride with me and working on yourselves and just like loving yourselves and are here for that too. I really appreciate it, and I am so grateful to have met all of you in Framers and for this community. And let's queue up all of the comments. Beyond Blessed 3456 wrote, "Why are they crying over hurt feelings when they mocked Justin and said he shouldn't cry over hurt feelings? That is so stupid. If they dish it out, then they need to dish it in." Yes, exactly. Like the fact that, you know, Blake's mad because people were talking bad about her or doesn't like her, but yet Ryan Reynolds was able to do all of the mockery. He's always mocking people. He's always making fun of people, and he gets away with it, and even said, well, you can't be mad over hurt feelings. You can't sue over hurt feelings. So then, like, why are we here today, Blake? What's Mama doing 3188 wrote, "People need to be reminded of what you just talked about, that Justin is a victim of sexual assault. He shared that with Blake and she's victimizing it for telling his story. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned." Preach. She doesn't care if she's going after victims, survivors, women, men. It doesn't matter. She doesn't care. She will burn it to the earth. She is Khaleesi. Rach B373 wrote, "Imagine being unable to fathom that people couldn't possibly dislike you based on your behavior. Instead of some much needed self-reflection, you're so deluded that you only believe an untraceable online campaign against you is the reason. It is a fascinating case for psychologists everywhere." 100% Rach. I mean, just like, it will all be okay for Blake once she comes to terms and realizes the fact that, like, hey, it wasn't even that people didn't like her necessarily. People just weren't messing with what she was doing at the time. Like, it was really unhinged, crazy behavior to be promoting the film the way she did. At 4 Supernatural wrote, "Ryan Reynolds and Blake have made themselves the villains of their movie and are remembered for it." Yeah, you are the hero of your own story, babes. And Blake and Ryan have built this themselves for sure. I agree. At Mimi RD1PU, "This case, court, and judge have exposed the U.S. legal system where money and power gets you everything when you are wrong, while the less powerful get abused." I couldn't agree more. The fact that Blake is even able to fight this as hard as she's fighting it, costing hundreds of millions of dollars. A lot of people would never be able to fight this through the resources. And it just, like, it's a sham. Like, we all know that there was no smear campaign. Like, it's crazy that she's able to continue this whole charade in the courts because she has the money. At Jenny19 wrote, "That's the word, vile. Everything she and RR have done. I just feel like they wanted to break Justin and boss him around. Justin deserved better, and those two are bullies." Yeah, Justin and Wayfair deserved way better than Blake Lively, and casting her was a huge mistake. But may this be a wake-up call for everyone else, period, in the future working with these two. At Ludab T6K wrote, "Does mental illness come to mind? Is this why she didn't want her medical records seen by Justin's attorneys? This is serious. Does not make any sense that a reasonable person could do this. She is unraveling and everyone around her is allowing it." Yeah, I mean, the crash out is real. At Boss Biatch wrote, I hope that's how you say it. At Boss Biatch, I think. Sorry. Wrote, "Girl, you are right on the money. I could not have articulated that any better. You would want to face people and tell them her story like she did at the Time 100. Remember? Yes. It was at the late night talk show. Time 100, you know, she tiptoed around it saying how she wants to be a voice and how tough it's been. And one day she, stand up for women, but yet can't even say anything about her own deposition." At TessG4799 wrote, "To put in a picture of Perez's children is just so sleazy and low. Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and their lawyer are just disgusting. Who puts innocent children in the middle of this? Like such demons." I agree. That attachment that had Perez with his children So unnecessary. Could have blurred out the children. Didn't even need the photo. Could have just put a source to the article. It is playing super, super, super low. But I guess Blake's whole motto is when you go low, I go lower. It seems like maybe that's what she's doing. But I do agree, children should not be involved whatsoever. And that was a super shady, shady move. And last but not least, at Velo9029 wrote 100% this. What the heck? What the hell? What the heck? Does anyone care about flaky, ugly ass clothes, especially a whole group of lawyers? Blake Lively is the only one who concerns herself with lacking fashion sense. With her lacking fashion sense, can someone order this woman a slice of humble pie? I'll get it delivered right now, Uber Eats. And that is it. That is everything. And I was thinking a lot, and I actually went on the It Ends With Us Instagram to see what is she talking about? Justin changed the messaging and was trying to use real victims and survivors. And I was trying to see what happened when Blake was first announced on this movie and they first started the social media campaign in 2023. And you go to the very first few posts of the casting back in 2023 when they announced Blake Lively. It was already happening. A smear campaign was already happening. People were not happy about it all the way then. So of course, then when she comes out and has a chance to really rebrand, speak for survivors, talk about Lily Bloom's experiences, take it in a little bit of a more serious way, because it is very freaking serious. 1 in 3 women will be violated by a man in their life. That is facts. She doesn't. Do you know? It's just it's so wild. And it reminds me of people like Jennifer Lopez, Meghan Markle, Katy Perry, and a lot of even huge big influencers. There are people who have their entire page dedicated to watching their every move, insulting them, bringing them down. I mean Jennifer Lopez gets just as much hate as she does love. So does Meghan Markle on huge platforms like Megyn Kelly, right? So much hate. No matter what they do, these women are just getting stompled on. But you know what they do? They focus on the positive. They focus on the fans that they have. They keep going. They don't think internally there's a smear campaign happening and these people must be getting paid and everyone's against me and da-da-da-da-da. It's orchestrated. It's a whole thing. It's no, when you get to certain levels of success, you are going to have critics. You're in the spotlight. And a lot of people aren't going to like you, and a lot of people are. And unfortunately, when you are on camera, when you present yourself, you get critiqued, okay? You get put up on a pedestal. This happens now with so many influencers, with anybody that's in the media. You take one bad step, you say one wrong thing, you get caught doing one wrong thing. It's the world is holding you more accountable than they are their own politicians, holding you more accountable than they are their spouses, holding you more accountable. You have to almost be perfect. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? And unfortunately for Blake, she just didn't it was wrong. It was bad. It was gross. It was ugly. We all saw it. Nobody liked it. And instead of taking accountability, responsibility, and apologizing for her own behavior, she's deluded herself and her team and everyone to think that there was this paid smear campaign, including with their own counsel, Brian Freeman. It's so nuts, guys. But anyway, that's all I got to say about it. Okay, that's it for today. It's Friday. I'm on my way to an audition. I hope y'all are having a good day. I hope you have a great weekend. I don't really have anything to leave you with except just stay open, keep open, and keep doing you. And actually, what I was thinking all week, because I went gardening on Sunday, and I tell y'all, whenever I volunteer and I go gardening and I'm there for a couple of hours, there's always these aha moments. And something that's been sticking with me all week is going and pulling it out at the root, okay? At the root. And sometimes you need, in order to grow, in order to expand, in order to heal, in order to shine and be open, you need to go to places and you need to go to the problem and you need to go deep down inside of yourself and you need to get to the root of your limiting self-belief. You need to get to the root of your unhappiness. You need to get to the root of your trauma. You need to get to the root of your story that you don't want to retell. and you need to pull it out at the root, because just locking it away and putting it behind this door and throwing away the key isn't going to work, because that is stored in your body. And if you're not going to the root of it, it will continue to grow like weeds do, and it will take over. And it could be slow or it could be quick, okay? But you need to really go to the root, and it's scary and it's lonely, and it could be very heartbreaking, sad. It takes a lot of strength, honestly, to anyone that is going through any healing or transformation or trying to better themselves. It's not a straight line up, It goes like this, and hopefully it goes like this, to where your higher highs keep getting higher, but your lows are a little bit higher lows than they are, But you got to get to the root of all that, baby girl, because if you don't, you'll never grow properly. You won't, because it will keep coming up. All of those things are stored in your body, whether you've locked them away or not. You need to go into those departments, and you need to shine light on them, and you need to just open them up and be okay and accept, so that you can move on and be your full self and love and grow and know that you are loved and you are love, Yeah. That's all I got to say about that. Yeah. Okay. I hope that stuck with someone or it helped at all. But I'm on this huge journey of continually healing and expanding and being my full authentic self and keeping my heart open, even when it doesn't seem like I can anymore. And it does take work, and it's work that you have to do by yourself or with a therapist. But obviously therapy is cool and it helps tremendously. But a lot of those demons that you're fighting, you got to suit up and you got to fight them. Okay? You got to face on, or they're going to keep coming back. So I hope you have a great day. Enjoy your weekend. Give yourself some grace for doing the best that you can do, okay? Give yourself some grace for just showing up, and love yourself, I hope, a little bit more every single day, because you matter, you are worthy, and I love you. So thank you so much for being here, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.